Warriors, welcome back to the den. It is testing grounds time. Well, time to talk about the testing grounds. And to do that, we have JC and Ben here to discuss all fun things. Fellas, how you doing?
Pretty good yourself.
Very well, thank you.
I'm doing pretty good. So, like I said, we will be covering testing grounds stuff, which will be going live on March 31st. But before we do that, we want to go ahead and give you a fight team update and give you a little bit of details on what you can expect to come with the launch of your 6 Season 1 Golden Age. So JC, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview of stuff that we can see coming with the new season?
Yeah, so with the big update that's coming in year 6 Season 1 is the Dominion update. So we've had 2 testing grounds for Dominion. We wanted to do a bunch of changes, and we wanted to wait until the Dominion series were done before we actually ended up pushing it live. It would have been kind of weird to change that up in the middle of a tournament, but now that everything's done, we can go ahead and push it. I'm super excited about it. A lot of changes have been tested already. Some things work, some things didn't work. As usual with testing grounds, it's totally normal. But the idea is that with this, we're hopefully having a better base to start on to help players start to push and have different team compositions, make sure that you have different types of objectives and different types of focuses. So that should be really interesting. So Ben, if you want to take us over what the changes are.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but finally we're deploying these changes. So we're going to start with the stuff that will not be changing after all. We've been messing around with the capture speeds in the TGs to kind of alleviate the whole dead ball thing where a whole team could just demolish everyone in a point, get the point immediately, then go to the other point and rinse and repeat. But in the end, trying to alleviate that by changing the capture speed caused more issues than it solved, basically. So by making the capture speed faster when everyone is capturing at the same time, there are no situations where a fight for a point could last for 5, 6, or 7 minutes and never change hands. So we learned that in the TG. That's it's a learning on our part, and we are just reverting everything within the TG and going back to the regular capture speeds. Yeah. So on the stuff that is going to change, we're going to start with the renown. That's the big one that everyone was really anticipating, really. So all heroes will now gain the same renown for every single action in the game. So if you're killing someone as an assassin, you're going to get 20 renown. If you're killing someone as a hybrid, you're getting 20 renown. And all of the different activities are going to wield the same renown. So I think everyone is going to be on board with this. It's the biggest change in the meta, and we hope that hybrids and assassins in general are going to be happy about this because they were kind of feast or famine on the whole renown deal.
Yeah. This feels super good, dude. Like, this is really, really amazing.
Yeah, so as you can see, we are still going with the defense zone renown removal, but we've heard the players saying that, you know, the removal of defense zones made trying to contest a point less risky than we wanted it to be in the end. So to alleviate that, we are introducing a brand new system. So when you are contesting zones, the amount of renown you will gain is going to depend on who owns that zone at that point. So what this means is if you're contesting your own zone, you're going to get a certain amount of renown, let's say 36 per minute. But if you're contesting an enemy zone, you're getting less renown per minute. So this encourages you to protect your own zone and encourages you to attack zones when you are making more of a organized effort, more than just kind of trickling in just so that you get your contesting renown and no one else gets the point. And furthermore, we are making boosting a zone the best source of zone renown gain, so that if you are boosting a zone and you're just standing there not doing much, you are at least getting a lot of renown for your team, and this encourages the other team from preventing you from doing that. So yeah, we're hoping this is kind of like the healthy cycle of Dominion that will be going forward, and we'll be monitoring how that goes.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I find that this method that we're using right now is really cool because you end up like you can just hang back and go into your zone, clear some minions, and like keep that going, but it will not actively prevent your opponents from really getting renowned. So you really want to stop them. So you will have to go into their point, lower their renown gain a little bit. You're still gonna get some. You won't get as much as them. So you want to go there, kill them as fast as you can, so you can capture the zone, start boosting, and have a bit more back and forth in that. So that's what I'm really looking forward. I find it's a super interesting concept that we have right now.
Yep. Moving on to the special renown. They don't really have a name, but we're calling them special renown. It's the bunch of stuff that you are getting for doing, looking at the moon while you're killing someone, get +5 renown. All of these stuff is they're gone. They were making the renown gain very obtuse and very hard to understand for players, and for no real gain. So no one was really playing for these rewards. They were just getting them for no real reason. And so we are only keeping the 3 rewards that we feel are helping comebacks, really. So stuff that you can do while you're behind to help you come back, but all the other stuff, it's gone. Next, we have the feat thresholds. So with all of the gigantic renown changes that we have, there was no way we were going to keep the same feat thresholds. We had to kind of adjust them. And if we're going to do it, might as well change the one thing that was weird with the old feat thresholds, which is they were all over the place. Like you didn't feel a sense of progression in unlocking them. But now, the higher your feat tier, the longer it takes to unlock it. So when you go from feat 1 to 2, it's rather fast, but from going from 3 to 4 is much longer. So you really feel the reward for getting feat 4.
Yeah, and it's important to note here that like a lot of this is also based off the fact that we removed a lot of that special renown. We adjust the renown gain. So these are adapted a little bit. You should be getting your feats relatively around the same time, or maybe a little bit quicker, but nothing overly jarring. So there's no need to like panic of, oh my god, it's like 320 to get feat 4, but it's totally fine. So we're good to go with this.
Yep, that's it. And finally, on the whole points gain, basically, we're going to go with the values that we had in the last, I believe, 2 TGs. So we are making the boosted zones gain a bit less, but just controlling a zone is worth more than before, and the minion lane is a little more than before. So we feel that after looking at the data in the last TGs, this was a pretty cool balance to keep the matches around the same length, while still making all the points kind of equally important. So you can't just leave the lane alone or leave the points alone and just concentrate on the lane. So there's going to be a back and forth going. We're hoping, at least. And really, that's about it. So leaving it to JC for a final comment, maybe.
Yeah, no, I find these changes are super amazing. Like I said, I think that what this opens up for us is the possibility of pushing towards different archetypes, different types of team, different types of picks. And maybe you're going to pick characters that are better at group fights, sometimes better at ganking. Like the minion lane still is important. Maybe you're going to try to build a comp that just controls your home point in the minion lane. Maybe you're going to build a comp that tries to control both points, like A and C. So all those types of things are really what we're trying to push towards, right? Making sure that the minion is more exciting, more engaging, and has a better payoff at the end, while still being strategic and making sure that you have to make the right calls at the right moment, like we see right now. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to see that go live, and that should be really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, Ben. Thank you so much for going through that. It's like a lot of numbers there, a lot of different values. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to explain it in a way that is like understandable for everybody. But so, all right, that is the stuff that will be coming with Year 6 Season 1 Golden Age on March 17th. Now let's get to testing grounds stuff.
Testing ground.
TG. All right, so this is going to run from March 31st to April 6th. We've got some stuff, JC. Who's going to be in this testing grounds?
Right. So we're going to have a second iteration of Conqueror in the testing grounds. The results from the initial one were not as we expected. They're not the the result that we wanted. So we have no problem putting Conqueror in a second testing ground. We've done it before with Shinobi, with like some of their hard characters like Raider and stuff, where you end up having, it's they're going to launch it a little bit later, but at the same time, we want to get something that's really good and healthy and feels really great. So we're going to do a second iteration of Conq. But here's the thing, though. I see, like, Conq seems kind of lonely here, right? Like, it looks like there's space next to him. We don't know what's going on. Yeah. So I wonder who's there.
Who's that warrior?
It's Shaolin. Yeah. So we're going to do, we're also doing Shaolin in these testing grounds. Super highly requested character. Right now, one of the worst characters to play in the game competitively, and so that's like we're really hoping to push Shaolin again to be a lot more playable. Again, the goal of reworks, just to make sure people understand it, we're not aiming to make these characters like, oh my god, S tier must pick all the time. We're really trying to bring them up to par to the rest of the cast to make sure that they're actually playable, they're good, and have a bit more of a squish in the tier rankings and that sort of stuff. But I'm super excited for Shaolin as well, so that should be really, really interesting.
That is super, super dope. Ben, do you have anything to add about having Conq and Shaolin in the TG?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen both of these. I've played both of these, and I think the Conq is going to reduce the frustrations people have had with the first version for sure. Yeah. And it's still very interesting. The thing that we've had it, the whole comfort of playing Conqueror has been like shot through the roof. Like I feel it's just so much. Yeah. It feels so much better in your hands. And Shaolin, it's a lot of fun. I always like the hero, but now that he's like a lot more viable, that you're kind of more incentivized to go into the key stand stuff, it feels like I want to dive into the hero all over again. So look forward to the videos explaining what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you joined us for our last testing grounds, and we not testing grounds, our last Warriors Den, and we had a testing ground segment, you know that JC and kind of sat down and kind of went through the moves, and we kind of recorded that video previously. So we're gonna do that again here. Alex is joining JC to talk about Conqueror and Shaolin and like all of the stuff that will be coming with the testing grounds. So we're gonna let the video play, and then we'll come back for final thoughts and then move on. So without further ado, enjoy.
All right, so hi everybody. We're gonna be showing you the changes to Conqueror and Shaolin right now that are coming up in the next testing grounds. So we're gonna start with Conqueror. So for Conqueror, we took a slightly less heavy-handed approach for the character this time around. We wanted to make sure we did a testing ground again because there's some changes in here that are quite large. So we wanted to make sure that everything was okay and we're all happy with them. And the idea is that we really tried to focus on addressing what makes Conqueror more frustrating to fight against, and also kind of pushing the character's archetype in 1v1 and in group fights to be a lot more focused. So that's what we're going to be looking at right now. So first up, we've actually removed charging heavies in chains. So as you can see, I have my heavy. I'm holding my heavy right now. I can't charge my attacks at all anymore. The reason for that is that it caused too many issues. We had a lot of like flickering problems, a bunch of different types of issues, and it added a lot of complexity to the character where the Conqueror actually did not need those. So we decided to remove that. Hopefully everybody's gonna be happy with it, but the character doesn't end up needing it after all. We've also removed the undodgeable from those chained heavies. So Alex, we're not gonna actually dodge them, right? So because again, like those undodgeables were kind of oppressive. People were complaining. We had got a lot of complaints about it, and it was a bit too strong. So we decided to remove it. And on top of that, it again did not feel that necessary with the rest of the changes that are coming. The other change that's rather big that we've done is we've removed the infinite light, right? So if I mash light, I stay and I end my light. So I only have 2 lights. I have a light finisher basically now. So the thing here is that infinite lights feel really bad at low level. They're kind of like players constantly get hit by them. It's difficult to react to on lower end hardware and on like for players that are not as used to the game. And at top level, they're completely useless. Players can react to them, parry them, whatever, and it's not a problem. So we've decided to remove that aspect entirely because it wasn't quite working anyway. But one of the things we've done is that Shield Bash, which you can have now, you can do it after any attack, including light finishers. So if you do like a heavy, you can do shield bash, you can do light into a shield bash, you can do heavy as before into a shield bash. But let's say you do a light finisher, like here, I get a shield bash afterwards, right? So that's kind of like the interesting here is that like Conq can actually extend his chains even if he does lights at the end and keep going. So we wanted to keep that bit of pressure there, but not be overly overwhelming. The next thing that's quite big is that the flail uppercut, which is the follow-up after a shield bash, is no longer, it's you do light afterwards, yeah. So it's no longer armored or unblockable, and it now has a stance. Reason for that being that Conq is not a ganker. Like when nobody's expecting Conqueror to gank, nobody's expecting those types of things to happen. Yet it was actually quite strong in the testing grounds that we had before. So we've decided to eliminate that aspect as well. Another thing that we've done is that so we had in the previous testing grounds that you could dodge cancel out of the recovery of full block stance like this. We've actually removed this. It created like weird wave dashing opportunities where you could like throw an attack, cancel a recovery by this, and then dodge out of it, and you were able to you were able to avoid a bunch of different things here. So there's a little bit more delay also when you exit full block stance. Here it's so that you don't get a faster recovery, because the way it worked is you could get actually a faster recovery in some cases by just tapping down in your recovery. You can go like this, tapping down, and then you would just tap down really quickly, and you would recover faster than if your heavy actually ended their recovery. So there's a little bit, there's 100 ms more at the end of that recovery, and that works quite well. We've also lowered the damage of the unblockable charge heavies from neutral. They used to deal 32, now they deal 28. Again, it's more normalization damage here. It made no sense to deal that much damage, and it also has less range. So now this is gonna hit, but if I go a little bit further out, Alex goes like a tiny bit further. Yeah, so we reduced the range on this. So we had problems in the previous testing grounds where you could charge your heavies, and then you had so much forward movement that you can actually do off-screen hits with it. So an unblock, you can imagine an unblockable that deals a lot of damage coming from off-screen. That's hard to react to. Didn't make a lot of sense. So we've taken care of this as well. The other change that we also have is that the shield bash in chains does not move forward as much as it used to. Again, we don't want to have characters really rely hardcore on this to be able to initiate pressure in group fights when you're outnumbered. So with this, you also get rid of the off-screen type of problems that we had. So that helps there quite a bit. Last but not least, we've actually put dodge forward bash back to 100 milliseconds from the front dodge. It used to be at 300 in previous testing grounds. So the idea here is that we wanted to make sure that Conqueror actually has a lot more pressure from neutral without giving him like extra dodge attacks and forwards or whatever. So with this, the mix-up that actually works on live right now works on Conqueror, and it works quite well. So we've decided to keep it and keep the idea here. And oh, one last thing before I forget, zone attack. People felt it was lackluster because it costs too much stamina, etc. So now the change we've done is that it costs 20 instead of costing 40 stamina. So that makes quite a difference here as well. You can use it a lot more. It should be a lot less underwhelming. So the game plan for Conqueror in this testing ground basically is you want to land as many shield bashes as you can, right? So you can do it from here, you can do it from side dodge, you can do it in chains, whatever you'd like. Whenever you land a shield bash, you get a flail uppercut. And once you've gotten that flail uppercut, you are frame advantage, which means that you actually can do flail uppercut into heavy feinted guard break. And if your opponent tries to dodge it, you're able to guard break them in most cases. And in the cases where you can't, so for example here what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a flail uppercut into a heavy that I'm going to let go. And I can go into my down stance and block attacks. So against some characters that have faster dodge attacks, such as Shaman, you can, instead of doing feint to guard break, you can just let your heavy go. Cancel recovery with down stance, you're able to block the dodge attack. Everything works quite well. And so the idea is, that's it. So you can go do a shield bash into a light, into another light, into a shield bash, and do whatever you'd like. And it works really well, right? So you get a lot of pressure here, and you want to have your opponents you want to force your opponent, condition them to try to parry your heavy, right? Because if you do this after a heavy, then I have, if Alex doesn't parry this, right? Then the problem that he has is that I go back into another mix-up if I want. I can go into another bash here and keep going. And so Alex constantly has to make the choice here to dodge or not dodge. If he dodges, I can feint the guard break or feint into my down stance, try to beat things. I can bait parries with these things. I can do a lot of different things that are like super interesting. It works super well. And we've managed, what we wanted to do was reduce the complexity and the amount of crazy properties the hero had while keeping the identity of the hero intact, which was basically a lot of shield bashes. People like this, it works well. And we want to have the Conqueror be super proactive. If you want to be able to actually deal damage, you have to be a lot more aggressive and really, really get into your chains, do a lot more, and get into that feeling. So that's it for Conq. We're going to look at Shaolin next. Okay, cool. So welcome back, Alex. We're going to be looking at Shaolin now and what the changes are coming to the testing ground. So please show us the way.
Yeah, okay. So our goal with the Shaolin was to improve its flow a bit. Because right now on live, no matter what you do, as soon as your opponent knows the character, they're always going to stop your flow. And also, there was not really a purpose to go into key stance because the options were not great. So we also tried to improve that side of the character. So first off, let's take a look at the openers. One thing that we did was make the top light enhance. So that way you can go into your key stance from there. And you can also keep your chain going if you want. Yeah. The other thing that we did for the character's opener is now the side dodge heavy can flow into key stance, and it can also go into your chains.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a way better option, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah. Then next, we're going to take a look at the key stance itself. So we did a lot of improvement there. One of the first things that we did was to make sure that we have attack parity here, because before your top and side attacks would all be different, but now all the lights are the same, all the heavies are the same. So let's take a look at the light first. They're now all 500 ms, and they're all enhanced now. So if we go, let's say here, yeah, see that it's enhanced. So that should be a bit better from there. And before, whenever the Shaolin was doing the side lights, it was even worse because they were 700 ms, so it was just a free parry every time. Now for the heavy, they're now all 800 ms and undodgeable, and that goes for the top as well. The top before was 1200 ms, I think, and unblockable, and the sides were 600 ms, which was a bit weird since you can find them as well. But now they're all at 600, and they're all undodgeable. The other thing is, wait, sorry, the kick is the same as before, so that's it. Then what we did is take a look at the sweep attack. On live right now, the sweep can only be done after a kick, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So we removed that, and instead we put the sweep after any key stance attack. So either you do kick light sweep, or you do kick heavy sweep, or kick light sweep. Or light sweep, like that. So the sweep is 800 ms now, but it can now be feinted, which was not the case before. So that's the first bash that's not chargeable and feintable.
Yeah.
So that should be something that's quite unique to the Shaolin. Also, one last thing is that the sweep can now go to a dedicated follow-up instead of go to your opener. But that dedicated follow-up can now chain, or it will go back to key stance itself. so you get a flow of going back and forth to your chain and to key stance basically. So that's pretty much it for the main character flow. Just having all those moves tied together and having better openers should make the character way more accessible and strong.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see like that flow. Just that little tweak that we did of adding that sweep after the key stance attacks makes a huge difference. The character feels a lot better. You get a lot more pressure in 1v1s. And what's interesting too is that because it's feintable, right? You can feint the guard break, or you can feint the parry, or feint the dodge, or whatever. And all the options that you get out of that sweep now also always lead back to key stance, right? So if you want to have and put that pressure and go towards that, then you can always go back. It feels really, really good. So next up, I think we have some quality of life changes as well.
Yeah, exactly. So first off, we took a look at the sprint attack. Before, it was a bit weird. You could not really link to any attack if you hit it. It was really dependent on how you hit it and how you press the buttons. Like if you switch stance, it wouldn't work. If they were already in the right stance, I think they would block it. So it's kind of messy. So we made it so that the branching is a bit more comfortable to the player. Then talking about comfort, we removed the true timing restriction on the triple side light.
Yeah, like we've done with.
So now you can just smash it; it's gonna work.
Yeah, it's similar to what
but
we've
you
done
can
with
also just hold it to go to.
Yeah, it's similar to what we did with Shinobi and and Peacekeeper as well. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's way more comfortable, that's for sure. The other thing that we did was to remove the unblockable heavy after the kick. And the reason for this is because it was not really it was a terrible option. Like you would always go for the guaranteed damage. But now with the sweep, it's even more true because you can get your guaranteed damage and still have the unblockable feint mix-up with the sweep. So the heavy didn't have its place on the character kit. Also, another change that we did was allow the player to dodge from key stance. So that way you won't have to press B before end. So it should be a bit more comfortable, and it also makes the key stance a bit better because it means that you have some defensive options out of it as well.
Yeah.
Because before you would always get guard broken or bashed out of it. So now you have a little extra option.
Yeah, and that works really well too because like at some point you're able to use it better in group fights, and because the dodge attacks also now always lead to key stance as well, it's kind of like the feeling of we always want to get everything to go back to key stance. We're improving key stance, so we're really trying to center the character into hardcore going. Okay, so I want to have ways to go into key stance. When I'm in key stance, I want to be able to apply pressure and then go back into key stance in 1v1s and also make the key stance a little bit better to use in group fights when you're outnumbered. So that's kind of interesting there. I think we also have changed the dodge it to a zone attack, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the problem that we had with zone attack before was that it was a bit of a weird and frustrating move, especially for a newer player, because the timing made it so that you couldn't dodge in between hits. Sometimes you couldn't parry. Sometimes they would be guaranteed. It was just a very, very strange move. So now we slowed it down, but we also drastically improved the trajectory, so it should be a bit better whenever you're outnumbered. And also, we made it so that you could target swap in between each hit, so then you're able to just move your trajectory around. So it should be, well, much more easier to use and way less frustrating than before.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting now, like you can throw it at me and I can dodge like all, like if I get hit by the first one, I can dodge again, no problem. What was happening before was that if the second hit landed, like actually hit you, like the third hit was guaranteed, and if you blocked the second hit, the third hit would be auto blocked, and so it created all sorts of weird situations where like it looked like you might have had an option, but in fact you didn't. So with this, yeah, it's a little bit slower, but it's a lot more consistent. And with the additional buffs, with like lower stamina costs, higher damage, better trajectories, target swappable, we're really hoping that it's gonna push that move to a higher level than it ever was. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's about it.
Yeah.
We're really hoping that this should improve the flow and make the character way better. During our playtest, like everybody seemed to be enjoying the character way more than before, and we hope you do too.
All right, so thank you. We're gonna get back to Josh, and we'll see you in a minute.
And there you have it, folks. That is the testing grounds that will be going live on March 31st. JC, do you have any final thoughts on everything before we blue skidoo on out of here?
No, I'm super excited. As everybody has seen, the reworks look really awesome. I can't wait to see what people do with Shaolin in particular. We had a lot of work. We listened to a lot of feedback, got a lot of stuff from everybody, and I think this version should be super interesting. Speaking of Shaolin, Ben just had to use Shaolin's tier 4 feat and teleported out of here, but that's pretty cool. So thank you, Ben. Thanks for joining us. And thanks to Alex, like really hardcore. You really helped us make those videos. That's really appreciated, and it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to you, JC, Alex, Ben, the whole team who worked on the changes that are coming to testing grounds and the fight team stuff that we talked about at the top of the segment. So super excited about everything. But that's it for Testing Grounds Warriors.